if you want peace of mind, my child, try not to look at the faults of others. As we call it, nitpicking here. In the third chapter, the 30th verse, Sri Krishna mentioned about the qualities or the requirements of a person who will become a guide to many. So it is not, those qualities are essentially not for everyone, but it is for those who want to be an ideal towards others, especially for teachers and others. Mayi sarvani karmani, etc. So the question always arises, is it possible for us to achieve all those goals? Because it is quite a tall ask for us. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya, he is asking for giving up the doership, sense of doership. But being in the world, is it possible, practical, to give up the sense of doership totally? Definitely not. It is not possible for people in the household to do that. Therefore, one thing which Sri Krishna mentions over there is quite very important, which we have stressed about which we have stressed previously, Adhyatma Chetasa. See, any action that you do, perform, whether it be material work or spiritual work, whatever it be, Adhyatma Chetasa, that means have the sense, do not focus on your body and mind, but perform any action as an Adhyatma, that means as a spiritual personality, not as a physical personality. That's a very important thing which Sri Krishna says. The difference between animals and humans is in this. Whereas animals can never think of themselves as a divine personality, a human can think of oneself as a divine personality. This is the main difference between animals and humans. Therefore, the more and more we rely upon this Adhyatma, that means the spirituality that is within me, that the divine is present in me, the divine is working in and through me. This aspect or this attitude is must be paramount in our dealings with the world. See, the more and more you think of yourself as divine, the less and less will the trials and tribulations affect you. They will come and they will make a dent in your personality, no doubt about that. But it will not affect you for too long, because you have already begun to understand, or you have already begun to see yourself as a conduit of the divine. Adhyatma Chetasi is probably, it could be better translated as a conduit of the divine. So that is a very important point that Sri Krishna makes over there. Adhyatma Chetasa. And then Nirashihi, Asha, we all are alive because of Asha. We are because of our desire. There is a desire to be, a desire to know, there is a desire to enjoy. Satchit and Ananda is our basis, so to say. That means we want to be, we don't want to cease to exist. Then we want to know, and then we want to enjoy, we want to have the bliss. So this is a very inherent characteristic of every being, especially a human being. Therefore, to become Nirashi here does not mean that you become indifferent to the world or indifferent to what you are doing. No. You should put forth all of your efforts. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, work in such a manner as if your whole existence depends upon it. That means you put forth all of your effort, etc. But at the end of it all, at beginning and end of it all, you say to the divine, all this belongs to you. The success or failure does not belong to me. See, there was a saint in Karnataka called Purandradasa. Purandradasa, he used to, if you do not make me, if you make me angry, then ninage aane. That means it is your fault. But if while I'm happy, if I do not remember you, then it is my fault. So, that is to say, the divine is within myself, and therefore I need to rely more and more upon the divine. So at the beginning of all of our actions, and when we are getting some time in the middle, as well as towards the end of our actions, we offer it to the divine. This is the idea of Nirashi. Nirashi does not mean hatasha or depression, but Nirashi means that is free from the thought or free from the worry, if I can use that word, better word, free from the worry of success and failure. That is the idea. And then he says, Nirmama. That's the long-term goal for us is to become Nirmama, devoid of egotism. That I am not the doer, that is, the Lord is the doer. Nothing happens because of me, it all happens because of the divine. And the commentator, he says that Asha, that is desire, makes us worried about the future. And Mamata, it means mind, the sense of mind, makes us worry about the past. That is the commentator's words. So it does not mean lack of empathy towards anyone, but the devoid, we stop dwelling on the past or worrying much about the future. Yes, we need to provide for the future, there is no doubt, but unnecessarily worrying that what will happen, we are mostly getting bogged down by those thoughts, Nirasha, Asha and Mamata. So I thought we would dwell upon this a little more and then go to the next verse. Ye me matam idam nityam, 31st verse and 32nd verse I will read together. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manava Shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karmabhi yetu etadabhyasuyanto nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudham stan vidhi nashtana cetasa. Yetu ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. Ye manavaha, those people who Shraddhavanta, who are having faith, and Anasuyanta, who are free from disparagement. Idam matam nityam anutishtanti, who follow this teaching of mine, te api karma bhi muchyante, they also will be released by the karmas, by the effects of karma. That is, if you cannot follow the first one, the dictums that are mentioned in the verse 30, then at least now you tried it. That is to say, there are two types of people in the world. That is, those who can learn to dedicate all their action to God, attribute all their action to God, and do the will of God. That is, before they do anything, they have developed the capacity to hear the voice of the divine or to know the mind of the divine. That is, those are of a higher quality. So that is, those are called the saints or seers. But those who who have not been able to dedicate, but who are respectful towards, the teaching of the divine, they have a lot of faith in within themselves. And those that have not been able to dedicate themselves totally, but have that respect towards the divine and want to go forward. So it is this second type of people who are being addressed in these two verses. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manava shraddha anasuyantaha muchyante te api karmabhi. So whoever follows this teaching of mine with their minds full of faith and free from disparagement, two words he uses over here, Asuya and Shraddha. Asuya means jealousy or disparaging attitude. That is, searches for a person who searches for mistakes in virtues of others. They have this chronic problem of searching for mistakes. So much so that when he or she sees somebody well, or somebody in a good position, they try to bring them down to their own level, and because they are so jealous of them. This is a very typical attitude of a lot of people, lot of humans, and that is why Holy Mother Sharda Devi, in her very last message to her disciples, she very wonderfully said that if you want peace of mind, my child, try not to look at the faults of others. As we call it, nitpicking here. This nitpicking attitude is a very, very despicable attitude, if I can say that. Despicable attitude. So that's why she says that do not try to look at the faults of others. But she adds, rather try to look at your own. See whether you have got something to repair. Whether there is something wrong within you that you are looking at the faults of the others. And she continues, no one is a stranger in this world, my child. That is the bhava of or the attitude of this Vasudha Eva Kutumbakam. The universe is one family. Nobody is a stranger in this world, my child. Try to make everyone your own. That is the important thing. Even ordinary people who, when they see somebody very violent towards them or who have got bad intention towards them, they change their attitude towards them, try to see the good in them and then absorb them towards themselves. They draw them towards themselves. Sometimes people are surprised. How is it that this person whom I used to hate has done so much of good towards me? This is a common thing which you have seen, especially in our older generation. So Shraddha, that is Anasuya, is a very important thing. Asuya, jealousy. Jealousy, it gnaws. It is like a rat which little by little it gnaws into it or eats the things. So in the same way, this jealousy is that which keeps on trying to munch at the others. Anasuya. So it says, do not have this asuya, do not have this disparaging attitude, jealous attitude. So important. And then Shraddhavan. What is Shraddha? Shankaracharya defines it. Shastrasya guruvakyasya satya buddhi avadharanam sa shraddha katita sadbiryaya vastu upalabhyate. Shastrasya, that is faith in or belief in the words of the scriptures, Shastra. It's like we are now studying the Bhagavad Gita. If we are convinced that the words of Sri Krishna definitely can take us beyond this realm of temporary existence, then we have won it. See, Sri Ramakrishna used to give an example. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the south of India, he went in order to see the places of pilgrimage in the south. And when he went to a place called Rajamandri in Andhra Pradesh or Telangana, I don't know now, Andhra Pradesh, there is a temple of the Gita Krishna, a temple of Vishnu. And there, every day, a very humble, poor gentleman used to come and sit at a corner and listen to the words of the teacher who was teaching Bhagavad Gita, and all the discourses were being held in Sanskrit language. And this man sit there and he would listen to it with tears in his eyes. As he would listen to the discourses of the teacher, tears would stream through his face, and his face would become brighter and brighter. Sri Chaitanya saw this, and then he asked one of the people, who is this gentleman who is listening with such a great Shraddha, with great faith? So it was told that, well, he is an unlettered person, he doesn't understand a single word of Sanskrit, but he just comes and sits there, and then he is listening to the Bhagavad Gita, and then he goes away with great joy in his heart. So Chaitanya Deva goes and speaks to him and says, sir, please tell me, what makes you become so devout, and why are you crying? So that the gentleman says, well, as I am listening to the words that are spoken over here, I can see Sri Krishna is standing on the chariot and is giving the instructions to Arjuna. But in spite of giving this teaching, Arjuna is unable to understand, and he is asking questions again and again. See, that is what, though this gentleman did not understand a single word of Sanskrit, yet he had that Shraddha, he had that faith, he had that implicit faith that listening to this or hearing to this will definitely help me. With that attitude, he was going every day and sitting there, and indeed he was the one who understood the most of the Bhagavad Gita. So Shraddha is Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya, of course, words of the Guru. Satya Buddhi Avadharana. See, to understand the truth, that there is truth in what I am hearing, there is truth in what is being told. That Shraddha, this Shastra or this scripture will definitely help me to go forward. This is a very important thing. It will help me to go forward. Not with a doubting attitude, but with a Shraddha. That's the important thing. So here he says, Shraddha here, faith in the words of the Guru, faith in the words of the scripture, as also faith in oneself. Arjuna was a great warrior. He had tremendous of faith in himself. But unfortunately, he lacked the self-confidence in himself. He had faith, but confidence was not there. There is a little difference, slight difference between faith and confidence. Faith is that which is inherent within yourself, but confidence is that which is outside of yourself. See, that confidence was lacking in him, and therefore he was going backwards. So he says, Eme matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavaha. Sri Krishna says, Nityam anutishtanti. This is one thing. What are these things? Shraddhavantah. That means having implicit faith in me, and anasuyantaha. That means do not have any kind of disparaging attitude, negative attitude. If I can use a better word, today's word, negative attitude towards anything. Muchyante te api karmabhi. They will also be free from all the effects of the karma. And then he says, Yetu etadabhya. But those who disparage this doctrine of mine and discard it, no such senseless men, blind to all wisdom, as lost. No such people as lost. That is to say, I am giving you so much of knowledge, I am guiding you so much, but yet you do not want to understand. See, this is something which our parents have always told us. We tell you so much, but yet you don't want to understand. Exactly the same words Sri Krishna is using over here. I am giving you so much of so many teachings, but yet you are not able to understand. So you go to dogs. Blind, you are lost over here. By having said this, Sri Krishna, by saying these words, is trying to draw us to himself, towards himself. And he wants to save us from foolish destruction of our own self. See, a real sadhaka, a real seeker is one who tries to bring in the divine within oneself and tries to root out the ego. Just like at the eureka moment when Archimedes saw it, okay, he got into the bathtub and then the water splashed and this is how I can find out the weight. So he could do that. The same thing is here also. The more and more we input these positive ideas within ourselves, the more and more God comes within ourselves, the more and more will the wickedness, the evil attitude from us will go out. That is it. We need to have that. The Arab's camel. The camel first put the nose into the tent and then put the face into the tent. At last it said, I am coming in, you are going out. That's what it is. So let us let the divine within and let the I go out. That is the important thing here. Etu etadabhyasuyantaha. Now, Arjuna thinks that when the Lord himself is instructing, why can't I follow him? See? So he does a self-analysis of this and finds out that his own mind is his shatru or his enemy. Therefore, even though he knows that he must follow the biddings of the Lord, sometimes he turns his face away from the Lord. Why does this happen? The Lord answers here in the 33rd verse. Sadrisham cheshtate swasya prakrutir jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. See, jnanavanapi prakrutehe sadrisham cheshtate. Even a jnani, that means a wise person here. So, swasyaha prakrutehe, from out of his own nature, according to one's own nature, acts. Cheshtate means acts. Bhutani prakritim yanti nigraha kim karishyati. Beings are all slaves of nature. They follow nature's bidding, so to say. Nigraha, repression. What can repression do? By a person by very nature follows one's own instincts. So sometimes the control does not figure out in his plan of action. In the Mahabharata, we find this famous statement by Duryodhana, and he says there, "Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi, janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi, kenapi devena hridisthitena yatha niyuktosmi tatha karomi." He says, "Janami dharmam, I know what is virtue. Nacha me pravritti, I don't have the inclination to follow virtue. Janami adharma, I know what is wise, what is adharma, what is not right. Yet, nacha me nivritti, I cannot desist myself from indulging in it. I cannot just stop myself." Then he tries to justify it. Why? Why is it? Kenapi devena hridisthitena. See, there is some God within me. Deva here means God. Actually, it is a nature, forces of nature here. Kenapi devena, some God is sitting within me, and whatever he is asking me to do, I am doing it. See, many a times we do this also, every one of us. Oh, this is the will of God, and therefore I am doing it. How do you know that it is not your will, but it is the will of the divine? Only very few people know the will of the divine. One whose mind has become nishkalmasha, that means one whose mind has become totally free of all blemishes. A saint or a seer, only he or she can understand it. But having said that, we also do have glimpses of that. Only we do not listen to that voice of conscience that is within us. We try to push it away, so much so that every time the voice of conscience comes to us, it is afraid to tell us anything. It has been silenced, so to say, in our life. Therefore, that we need to bring back that divine voice, or if I can put it the other way, we have to bring back that attitude or that nature of listening to the voice that we hear from within ourselves. So many times it happens in our life. So we need to, for little gains, we try to silence the voice just for immediate gains. That's what we do. So here he says, Sadrishtam cheshtate swasyaha prakrutehi jnanavanapi. Even jnani means even persons who have read a lot, who have been practicing so-called religion a lot, they also make this mistake a lot. So he says that jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani. The bhutani beings, they are guided by one's nature. That is the lower nature. We have these two natures within us. One is the nature that is called as para, and the other is called as the apara. See, para nature is the lower nature, and the apara is the higher nature. The nature which guides us, the nature which tells us do the right thing, that is called the apara nature. So we need to heed mostly to that apara nature. I think all of you, or some of you, might have heard this very famous story from the Mundaka Upanishad, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. There were these two birds of the same plume, same color, same build, everything. These two birds were sitting on a tree. And the tree, the bird that was sitting on the lower branches of the tree, it was sometimes biting into A fruit, when it was sweet, it would express its joy, and then when it was bitter, it would express its disgust. And then it would sometimes look up higher on the towards the other bird which is sitting on a higher branch, and then it would see that the bird on the higher branch, it is just unmovingly sitting over there, no expression on its face at all. Again, it will indulge in eating the good fruits and then the bad fruits, and then in sometimes enjoyment and sometimes there is unhappiness. It's only after some time that it dawned upon itself that indeed the bird up there is its own reflection. It was a mirror on top of the tree probably, and it was seeing its own reflection over there. So my own reflection is there. When I am indulged, or when I am indulging in all the actions of the day, naturally I am prey to the joy and or the misery of that. But when I am myself, swasthaha, that is a very beautiful word that we have in Hindi and in Sanskrit. Swasthaha. Stha means to stay. Swa means in one's own, remaining in one's own place or one's own abode is called as swastha. So this swasti is very important, that we have to sometimes go back into our own selves and then enjoy our presence, the presence of the divine that is within ourselves. It's a very important sadhana that we need to practice here. So, nigraha kim karishyati. So even sometimes with all nigraha, with all restraints, yet we sometimes lose the path. So Sri Krishna is aware of our failures, our shortcomings. That's why he is pointing out over here. Yes, it is indeed difficult. Nigraha, don't try to, if you try too much in restraining yourself or controlling yourself and all that, it won't work. Because nature makes you do things that you do not even want to do intrinsically. Externally, you try to do it. What is the way then? The way is to let the divine within myself. That's the one that we spoke about just a little while ago. If we let the divine within ourselves and try to listen to him or to the voice of the divine that is within ourselves. It's a very important part in our sadhana. Trying to listen to the voice is a very important thing. He also, in the next verse, he says, Indriyasyendriyasyarthe ragadveshau vyavasthitau tayor na vashamagache tau hi asya paripanthinau. See? Indriyasya. It is natural for each organ to feel attraction or aversion in respect of objects pertaining to each sense. The organ's attraction to the sense objects is explained over here. The object of the eyes is the form. The object of the eyes is the form. And therefore, the eyes want to enjoy the forms that are pleasant, isn't it? And it hates the unpleasant objects. Similarly, other organs also behave in the same way. If I listen to good music, then I like it. My inner being responds to it. When I listen to music that is out of tune and all that, my being does not respond to it. So here he says, it is natural for each organ to feel the attraction or aversion. That is raga and dvesha. Attraction and aversion. These are the two things. They are inherent in the objects of the senses. Nature, as it were, has installed them in those places. It has just installed it over there. If we can understand this, then I can ask myself, should I succumb to them? Should I become a slave to them? Should I be perturbed by them? This is a question that we need to ask to ourselves. I will tell you a personal reminiscence about this. I had just then joined at our monastery, and Swami Ranganathanandaji used to come once in 4 months. He used to come to attend the meeting at our headquarters, and I was assigned to do some work at the headquarters office. Then it was a tradition. After lunch, I would go to his room and then sit at his feet, or just before dinner, I would go and sit at his feet, and I would maybe massage his feet, or just he would be reading something, he would explain something, or he would just chat. That's all that we would do. Having just then joined the monastery, I was full of this vairagya, this passion about the world, naturally. So that day, it was just before our dinner, I believe. As I was before lunch, I had gone there to him, and as I was massaging his feet, I could hear that from the other side of the Ganga, the Ganges flows on the banks of the river Belur, and on the other side is Calcutta. And from that other side, these loudspeakers were blaring this film music, all the Bollywood music or whatever you say. It was blaring so much. And Belur is a very calm and quiet place. But all this noise, it was coming, and I was feeling very frustrated about this. Really, I was very so-called angry. And when you are angry, what do? Your body also reacts to it. So my hands were becoming tighter and tighter on his feet. So I was massaging it with vigor. Swamiji was reading something. He just put the book aside, looked at me, and smiled and said, "It is wonderful music, isn't it?" So I said, "No, Maharaj, it is bad music. So why should they turn their loudspeakers towards this side?" And the Swami, very beautifully with a smile, he said, "Well, for them, this is enjoyment. This music is giving them joy. That is also the joy of the divine in another form. They are experiencing the joy in another form." And that put me in my right place, so to say. Said, indeed, why should I be perturbed by what they are doing? Why can't I think of that music also as divine? Yes, instead of just paying heed to the words of that music, let me just enjoy the melody of the music. See, it's all based on ragas anyway. Indian music, whether it be Bollywood music or classical music, all of them are based on Indian ragas. Why don't I think of that? That really made me look at his attitude towards life. See, there is nothing that is not divine, nothing that is only secular. There is everything is sacred. For him, even through that music, one can reach to the divine. So, raga and dvesha, that is attachment and aversion, we must try to avoid at all costs. It is difficult, but it is not doable. I mean, it is not impossible, sorry. It is difficult, but not impossible. It is doable. raga and dvesha, that inherent feeling within ourselves or inherent attitude within ourselves needs to be changed. See, the same thing which I found abhorrent, that same thing gave joy or gave happiness to this respected sadhu, monk. So that is something which we need to understand over here. I should not succumb to the likes or dislikes of things. So, yes, we need to be on our guard. We should not let go our guard. We should apply brakes. We should not let the car run haywire. There are the brakes in order for us to apply them wherever necessary. We should do our duty, but yet not get that feeling that I am doing it. So the nature does its job, no doubt about it. But let me have a hold upon my nature also. Swami Vivekananda used to say, do not let nature rule you. You are the creator of your destiny. We really create our own destinies. Therefore, Sri Krishna says here, Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmas tvanushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Swadharmaha vigunaha, one's own dharma, that is duty, even though not glamorous, is better than duty alien to one's own growth. However well performed it may be, for even death in doing one's own duty leads one to one's good, while a duty alien to one's growth is burdened with the fear of downfall. We should not try to follow others' dharma. There is the swadharma. While a child has his or her own dharma, a youth has his or her own dharma, it is good. But everyone must follow one's own dharma, one's own call of the inherent nature, intrinsic nature. One should pay heed to that intrinsic nature that is there with every one of us. Swadharmaha, paradharmaha, trying to ape others, trying to mimic others is of no good at all. Yeah. Swami Vivekananda, when he in his first lecture in the West, he said those very famous words that it is not for a Hindu to become a Christian or for a Christian to become a Hindu. By following this, a Hindu will become a better Hindu, a Muslim will become a better Muslim, a Christian will become a better Christian. That is what Vedanta is about. See, it's not trying to convert anyone into your own dharma, because we are born into whatever dharma we are born into, whatever religion or faith we are born into. Let us follow it to the fullest extent. But do not close up yourself and say that no, mine alone is, my religion alone is right, my path alone is right, others' path is all wrong. Who are you to judge others? Do you know about your own religion or your own dharma first? First learn about your own dharma, what is yours. And then you see whether you can get anything from the others that can enrich your own dharma, enrich your own path. That is a very important point to note here. Swadharma, paradharmaha, bhayavaha. Trying to follow or mimic others' path is very dangerous. It is fraught with dangers. So do not try to do that. It's an important thing which Sri Krishna mentions. I think we will stop here, because from the next verse, Arjuna asks Sri Krishna athakena prayuktoyam papam charati. What makes us perform the acts of sin and crime? Says, why do we perform all of this? So people adopt their others' dharma, others' nature due to either fear or out of greed. That's what. So he will ask that question, and Sri Krishna will ask that, give a wonderful answer in the 37th verse. Kama yesha krodha yesha rajo guna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidhi enam iha vairinnam. We will take that up when we meet here after 2 weeks.